Many people assume Brazilians speak Spanish. This assumption is quite widespread and often leads to misunderstandings when people first visit Brazil or interact with Brazilians. This is a common mistake. Despite the geographical proximity to Spanish-speaking countries, Brazil has its own unique linguistic identity. While Spanish is dominant in much of Latin America, Brazil stands out as an exception. It is the largest country in South America and has a rich cultural heritage that sets it apart. The official and most widely spoken language in Brazil is Portuguese. This distinction is crucial for understanding the country's history and culture. But why the confusion? It's simple geography. Brazil is surrounded by Spanish-speaking countries. With neighbors like Argentina, Uruguay, and Venezuela, it's easy to see why people might assume Brazil also speaks Spanish. This leads many to believe, incorrectly, that Brazil also adopted Spanish. However, the reality is quite different and rooted in historical events. Let's delve into the real history of Portuguese in Brazil. The story begins with the Age of Discovery, when European explorers set sail to find new lands. The presence of Portuguese in Brazil is a fascinating story. It involves the arrival of Portuguese explorers in the early 16th century and the subsequent colonization of the region. It's a tale of exploration, colonization, and the enduring legacy of language. The Portuguese influence has shaped Brazil's culture, traditions, and most importantly, its language. Our journey takes us back to the Age of Discovery, a time when the world was being mapped and new territories were being claimed. This era set the stage for the linguistic landscape we see in Brazil today. In the year 1500, the renowned Portuguese explorer Pedro Álvares Cabral embarked on a historic voyage that would forever change the course of history. His fleet, consisting of 13 ships, set sail from Lisbon, navigating the vast Atlantic Ocean with the aim of reaching the rich lands of India. However, fate had other plans. After weeks at sea, Cabral and his crew sighted an unfamiliar coastline. They had arrived on the shores of what is now known as Brazil. This unexpected discovery marked the beginning of a profound Portuguese influence in the region. The Portuguese flag was soon raised, symbolizing their claim over this newfound territory. The lush, fertile lands of Brazil promised immense potential, and the Portuguese were quick to recognize its value. Portugal swiftly moved to solidify its claim on this vast and resource-rich land. Detailed maps were drawn, and official documents were drafted to establish their sovereignty. The Portuguese crown saw Brazil as a jewel in its growing empire. Soon after, waves of Portuguese colonists began to arrive, bringing with them their language, customs, and traditions. They established settlements, built churches, and introduced their way of life to the indigenous populations. The colonists set up vast plantations, cultivating crops such as sugarcane, which became a cornerstone of the Brazilian economy. These plantations required a significant labor force, leading to the establishment of a complex social and economic system. The indigenous populations, who had lived on these lands for centuries, were gradually subjugated and integrated into the colonial system. Their lives were forever altered as they were forced to adapt to the new order imposed by the colonists. Over time, the Portuguese language took root as the dominant means of communication. Schools were established to teach the language, and it became the lingua franca of the region, used in trade, governance, and daily life. The transatlantic slave trade further solidified the dominance of Portuguese in Brazil. Ships carrying enslaved Africans arrived in large numbers, bringing with them a tragic and painful chapter in history. Millions of Africans were forcibly brought to Brazil, where they were subjected to harsh conditions and forced labor. Despite their suffering, they contributed significantly to the cultural and linguistic landscape of Brazil. The enslaved Africans were compelled to adopt the language of their captors, blending it with their own linguistic traditions. This fusion created a unique and rich cultural tapestry that is still evident in Brazil today. The lasting impact of these historical events is evident in the Brazilian Portuguese spoken today. The language has evolved, incorporating diverse influences to create distinct dialects and expressions that reflect Brazil's complex and multifaceted heritage. While Portuguese reigns supreme, it's not the only language spoken in Brazil. The country boasts incredible linguistic diversity. Indigenous languages, remnants of Brazil's pre-colonial past, still exist. These languages represent a rich cultural heritage. Immigrant languages add another layer to this linguistic tapestry. Italian, German, Japanese, and Arabic, among others, are spoken in various communities. This reflects waves of immigration to Brazil throughout its history. Section 4. Language and Identity, the Soul of Brazil. Language is central to a nation's identity. It is the thread that weaves together the fabric of a society, connecting people across generations and regions. This is especially true for Brazil, a country known for its diverse culture and vibrant communities. Brazilian Portuguese is vibrant and expressive. It is a language that dances off the tongue, full of life and color. It's full of colloquialisms and a musicality all its own. The way Brazilians speak reflects their love for rhythm and melody. It reflects the country's warmth, energy, and cultural richness. The language is a mirror of Brazil's soul, capturing its essence in every word and phrase. From the rhythm of samba to the poetry of its literature, Brazilian Portuguese is a celebration of life. Language is the lifeblood of Brazilian culture. It is through language that stories are told, traditions are passed down, and communities are built. Understanding Portuguese opens a door to appreciating the nuances of this fascinating country. It allows one to truly connect with the people, their history, and their way of life. To speak Portuguese is to embrace the heart of Brazil. Section 5. Exploring Linguistic Diversity. Journey with us. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of language in Brazil. We've only scratched the surface of this fascinating topic. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of linguistic diversity around the world.